Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cult Musical Zone. Today, I am very excited to talk about the criminally underrated cult movie musical masterpiece, Earth Girls Are Easy. But are they? So today we have two aficionados of Earth Girls Are Easy, and I'm so happy to talk to them because this is such a criminally underrated movie, and its fandom, I guess, is growing, but it's kind of hard to find people to talk about Earth Girls Are Easy. So let's start talking to you all. Just plug your socials and tell us a little about yourself. So, Ashley?
I can do that. So I'm Ashley Scout. I travel around the country seeing Rocky Horror. I'm on state 37 or something like that. I've been to England. Yeah, I went to the castle where they filmed it, watched it there. So my pilgrimage. My Insta handle, it's all I have. I don't have Facebook. Family voted for Trump, so we just so I have Instagram, and it's Ashley Horror Picture Tour. Ashley spelled like the normal 80s way because sometimes people aren't creative.
And Jamie.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Jamie Diamond. I am a drag king, drag artist, shadowcaster, nerd, gradually dipping my toes even further, or I guess my whole foot's in now, into the world of cult musicals and other weird movies out there. And actually, believe it or not, this is the first, I literally just watched it for the first time a few days ago. So, yes, I had never seen it before. And I am very excited that I get to, through this podcast, to like see other things that I never would have watched if I didn't know about this podcast. So yes, I am a newbie to all of this. And my socials are pretty, they kind of vary by platform, but Jamie spelled Jami, no E, no extra word letters in there, just 4 letters, nice and easy. Diamond, and it's usually the drag, I think it's Jamie Diamond Drag King on Instagram, Jamie Diamond 69 on Twitter, nice. And I'm pretty sure it's the same handle on TikTok, but just look up Jamie Diamond, you'll find me. I think my name is on the screen right now, so yeah.
Now, Jamie, you were on the other 2 episodes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Reefer Madness Movie Musical and Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes, I was. Yes.
Okay.
It's good to be back.
Yes, you're always welcome. You too, Ashley. Come on, we need more.
I'm gonna do my best.
So come on. All right, so we're gonna talk. Usually, the first question that I ask for this podcast is our first time watching this film, and I had to wrap my brain around the first time I watched Earth Girls Were Easy, and it was the summer I graduated high school. And I don't know if it was Sundance Channel or another TV channel, but the same summer that I saw Earth Girls Are Easy, I think it was the same month, I saw the pirate movie for the first time and the criminally underrated, horrible cult musical, The Apple. So all 3 of those, terrible, love it though. Those 3 cult musicals came on the same summer, and I was like, oh my gosh. But it took me a couple of times to get into Earth Girls Are Easy. But then once I got into it, I fell in love with it. Ashley, when's the first time you've seen this film?
So I have very young parents, and they're the ones who showed me Rocky Horror when I was in 3rd grade. I like watched Grease too, like all of that. So my aunt actually is fully in love with Julie Brown. And so she would do because I'm a blonde, I just want to say that being chosen is this month, Miss August. Like she would do that. And I was like, what is that from? She's like, Earth Girls Are Easy. And I was like, is this a movie? And so I'll be 37 in like 2 weeks. So I used to work at a video rental store, not Blockbuster. It was like Blockbuster's ugly cousin. So when I started working there, I was able to get my hands on Earth Girls Are Easy and finally watch it. So I was 17 maybe. And I actually watched Earth Girls Are Easy and Best Little Whorehouse the same weekend. So it was like, and it took me no time at all because I was one of those kids who was just obsessed with the 80s, like right out of the gate. Like that's all I wanted. I have like a Prince photo here. Like I'm I've always just been fully in love with the 80s, and I watched it and I was like, okay, this is everything I've ever wanted. So it immediately imprinted on me like a baby duckling, and I've been obsessed with it ever since.
So, Jamie, I'm very excited to see a new sort of generation. I'm old. I'm an elder gay. I'm an old gay. Um, I want to see your reaction to this movie musical since you're the newbie on it. What do you feel like about it?
Yeah. So actually, funny story. So I just said, yeah, I'd be interested in like, being in a few different episodes with movies that I hadn't seen yet, and Earth Girls Are Easy is one of them. And so I ended up getting Earth Girls Are Easy on DVD from like Half Price Books, and like I go there occasionally just see what's there. I've been collecting more DVDs lately, and I was just like, oh, I'll just look for it, see if I find it. Lo and behold, I find Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and Earth Girls Are Easy in the same trip. So when you said that story, I was like, oh my God, this is the craziest happenstance, Um, and I watched it over the span of 2 days because my life is insane. So I watched the first like hour, just like hanging out on my couch, and I'm like, already this is like dripping 80s, and I live. And then I watched this last half an hour on the treadmill. I pulled it up on Tubi and just watched the last half that way. Cause again, I'm trying to multitask here, and it's usually running as my zone out. So I'm like, okay, let's just watch a movie. Let's watch the rest of this. And I will say that with the introduction of like the, Rocky Horror being like the gateway drug, I believe it's been referred to on this podcast, to like other weird musicals and stuff, because I'm a big fan of Rocky and Repo and Shock Treatment and Reefer, that just kind of just made things, just more open to like the weirder shit like this. And I definitely agree. It's going to like take a few more like watches to really love it, but I definitely enjoyed watching it. It's definitely not going to leave my brain anytime soon, and I think I'd rather watch like a movie that made me feel something, whether it was like, and was considered quote unquote bad, than watch a prestige piece, that was like, wow, that was really good acting. I'm never going to watch it again. Like, I'd rather watch something that makes me feel things. And the thing that I was feeling was just pure enjoyment of it. I was like, just like, wow, this is a stacked cast. And, I will definitely be listening to the Blonde song over and over again. That's my, I have something to say about that later. But long story short, I definitely will be watching it a few more times for sure.
Now, we usually jump into the plot, but I want to sort of connect. We always make the connections between all cult movie musicals. There's such a connection between all cult movie musicals, between Rocky Horror and Shock Treatment, Best Little House in Texas. Everything's interconnected. This particular cult movie musical has connections to other cult movie musicals as well. For instance, the director Julian Temple directed the cult movie musicals The Great Rock and Roll Swindle with the Sex Pistols, but he also directed the forgotten cult musical Absolute Beginners with David Bowie, which predated Labyrinth. And then, of course, you have Michael McKean, who plays Woody. He was in This Is Spinal Tap. You've got Charles Rocket, who plays Ted, who was in Hocus Pocus as the father. So there's all those connections between cult movie musicals. And of course, in terms of cult sort of connections, you've got Angeline, who is still one of the most bizarre yet fabulous people of all time. So yeah, there's that connection between cult movie musicals that exist within that, I guess, the cult movie musical realm. But in terms of the plot, I'll let you guys briefly talk about that. It's not very original, but it's okay because it does it in such a garish 80s way. Ashley, what do you think about just the general storyline? Do you think it's ridiculous or just fabulous or both?
I mean, it has to be both. Also, when I watched this movie the first time, I thought Angeline was just created for this movie. Had no idea that, like, not until I was out of college that I was like, that's the chick from Earth Girls Are Easy. And somebody's like, that's Angeline. And then like gave me the story, and I was like, yeah, I know. Had no idea. But I know, I mean, it's very like you said, garish is like a perfect term. Like, I feel like this movie almost seems like a parody of the 80s because it is so absolutely outlandish, and the the references to so many different things, the different robots, the different aliens, so you're watching it and you're like, oh, that with it and that, it's like, it's so crazy. Like, her neighbor's name is Miss Merkin. Let's, like, so good. Of course, I didn't know what a Merkin was when I was 17, but like, I do now. But like, the plot isn't original. Oh, it's this guy, and she didn't want the guy, and she's like with this toxic asshole, and it's like immediately like, no, Gina, you're such a babe. I can see your nipples through your bathing suit. You can get anybody. What is this? Also, it's like, I love seeing the evolution of like the nerd, the like endearing nerd girl, because now it's like that's what Zoe Deschanel makes all of her money on, is just like being an endearing nerd. But Gina Davis knocks, the grill into the into the pool, and she's like the devil. And I was like, there's no way. Like, there's no way. Like, she's such a babe. But I mean, it's in all the movies. It's in She's All That. It's in like, oh, she's, she's homely, and it's like, no. But no, I mean, plot wise, pretty standard, but add aliens into it, add Julie Brown into it, there's a dance off, like, it's so ridiculous. But it's also like, you're seeing these things come back. You're seeing these maximalist outfits come back. You're seeing these crazy nail art trends come back. The monster earrings, like, it's all cyclical. So yeah, absolutely ridiculous. And I love it so much. I don't want to say that it's like the perfect movie, because all of my cult movie musicals that I love, I'm like, no, like, I know it's trash, but like, that's fine. I used to like Pauly Shore, so like, I get it. But yeah, I think they do it in a way that is completely different than any other like bad relationship, and then you had sex with an alien kind of movies do. All of them.
You said something about a girl who has an asshole boyfriend, but yet she falls for another guy, and it takes a little bit. You just described the plot of Grease too, but I digress. Jamie, what do you? It's all connected. What do you think of this particular plot of this film?
I mean, I mean, I was wondering to myself through most of the movie, like, it's like, how much of this is on purpose with how like dripping and camp and everything is, and then like by the end I'm like, yeah, this is definitely on purpose. And I love it when movies cannot take themselves that seriously. That just makes the experience way more fun for me. Is that like kind of coming to that conclusion? It's like, okay, that allowed me to enjoy it like all the more for it. Um, it's fully aware of what it is, and it just rides that out to its ultimate conclusion. And in the end, it's kind of like a like picture of like Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development holding the cupcakes, like, good for her. That's what that was my reaction to the ending. Like, good for her. You go live with that Jeff Goldblum alien, and you have amazing freaky alien sex. Good for you. Like, I just again, I don't want to piggyback too much off of what's already been established, but pretty straightforward plot. Add aliens, add a shit ton of color and 80s stuff, and stir for a few minutes, and you get Earth Girls Are Easy. Like, I love it when movies are just completely aware of what it is, and let's all have a good time. And that's what I enjoyed the most about it, with the story and everything.
I think you two hit on something important. A lot of cult movie musicals have become cult movie musicals because they took themselves very seriously, but then they weren't in on the joke, and we later got in on the joke, like Apple and Xanadu, etc. But Earth Girls Are Easy is completely on the joke the entire time. It's not supposed to be groundbreaking. It's not supposed to be riveting. It's not supposed to be deep. It's supposed to be campy and funny, and it is. And I consider it like the perfect summer movie musical to watch. It has a summer feel, but also has like a late night double feature. No, a late night double feature feel. It does. It's very midnight. I feel like the colors and it's very somber. It's a very somber movie. Um, it's not a movie. It's a movie that you can just relax and not have to pay attention to. But but it is. It really is. It's therapeutic. It's one of those therapeutic movie musicals. Now, I know for a lot of the viewers who may not know, there is a Julie Brown is the creator of this film, but also for those who may not be aware of who Julia Brown is, Ashley, do you have any sort of tidbits for our viewers about why Julie Brown is so important in terms of this film? And then we'll get into the music.
So Julie Brown, I always saw her as like, she's the American Tracy Ullman. Like, who, I mean, again, I'm 37 and aging myself. People are like, Tracy Ullman. Tracy Ullman created The Simpsons. But she has always just been full camp. Also, she's in Clueless. She's the gay gym teacher in Clueless. And I remember watching it being like, so she's always just done crazy camp, and all of her, it's always music. It's always these ridiculous Cyndi Lauper style outfits. So she's like my maximalist queen. Like, I'm like, oh, you're just wearing tulle over lace tights? Absolutely. I'm into it. But she has always she's like that 80s MTV queen. And there was also a Julie Brown who was an MTV VJ, totally different. That's Downtown Julie Brown. Just so everyone can keep it straight, or gay, whatever.
Julie Brown is a comedian, and then she made like lots of Madonna parodies and things like that. So she became prominent on TV for that. And then she writes like novelty songs. So Earth Girls Are Easy is actually based on a song from an album she did called Goddess in Progress, which is sort of a kitschy, sort of campy album. And then producers really liked the song Earth Girls Are Easy, so they said, we're going to make this into a movie musical. Originally, they wanted Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta, believe it or not, to play the role of Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. But the two, lightning, it's very hard to catch lightning in a bottle twice, as we talked about on the Grease 2 episode and the Xanadu episode. Olivia and John came together again after Grease to do the criminally underrated but very ridiculous cult musical Two of a Kind. But because that flopped really, really bad, they were passed over. And so, of course, Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis were already married during this time in this film. This is the third film, the second of the three films they did together. Oh, yeah, they were married for a long time. And this is one of the movies they did together. So, yeah. And then, of course, you have pre In Living Color, Jim Carrey and Damon Wayans. And, of course, this is pre or post Jim Carrey's movie Once Bitten. So this is before all of them became like Gina Davis was really popular, as was Jeff Goldblum, but this is before Jim Carrey and Damon Wayans really kicked off their careers. Of course, Michael McKean was, of course, in Clue, and he was in this is Spinal Tap and so forth and so forth. But yeah, the chemistry on screen is real. And once they put all that cast together, it sort of spearheaded. And it took, of course, the studio that produced it went bankrupt. And so this particular film faded into obscurity for many years. But then, of course, when Tim Curry, I'm saying Tim Curry and Jim Carrey at the same time. Maybe that should be somebody's drag name. Of course, when Jim Carrey, y'all can have it. I'm not copyrighting it. When Jim Carrey, of course, became popular with Ace Ventura and The Mask, this movie became in circulation again. People wanted to get their hands on it. So that's how the cult musical legacy grew. Now, I think what sets Earth Girls Are Easy apart from others and makes it so special is the music. Now, Julie Brown of course, wrote most of the music in the film, and it has such a kick-ass soundtrack. So the next question I'm going to ask you guys is your favorite two songs in the film, and you can only pick two. So think about two songs. So we have, of course, the opening song, Earth Girls Are Easy. We have Brand New Girl, The Ground You Walk On, Because I'm Blonde, I Like 'Em Big and Stupid. So yeah, there's those songs. My favorite song is The Ground You Walk On because the film version actually features Gina Davis's vocals. But there's some copyright issues or there's some rights issues. So the soundtrack that's released on streaming platforms has another singer-songwriter called Jill Jones on it. But yeah, Gina Davis did her own vocals in the movie. And I also like the song I Like 'Em Big and Stupid because it's very feminist. How about you guys?
All right, I have to go with both Julie Brown numbers. The Brand New Girl and the Because I'm Blonde. Like both of those, I'm just like, yep, I know what movie I'm in. Like they're just so fun to watch. They're my favorite parts of the movie, hands down. But I did mention before that Because I'm Blonde, I really now like I've watched that scene. I immediately had a pre-show idea for Rocky of Rocky doing that song. Like either one Rocky doing it or like a horde of Rockies doing it together. Like a lot of people do Rocky, like especially for those who are more femme leaning, tend to do Rocky as like a bimbo blonde. So I think it is perfect, worlds colliding here. So I will make sure that happens and I will make sure to tag you in that video.
I'm furious that no one's done this before, but I'm so excited that you're going to do it. Oh my God. So, Cause I'm a Blonde was the first song I ever put on my MySpace page. Before they had like the player, I like learned HTML so that I could put a song on it. I had Andy Warhol art and I was a MySpace bitch. I had the angles, then I did this. It was a whole thing. I had coontails in my hair. Oh yeah, it was a time. But yeah, because I'm a Blonde, it was the first song I knew from the movie, and I was obsessed with it. The first CD I ever burned, that was the first song on it. Downloaded from Kazaa, which I promptly got a virus from. But it also makes no sense in the movie at all. It's just like they shoehorn that like, ooh, there was a blonde contest and just like throw it in there. But Wayans and Carrie in that scene were just like being so weird. It's hysterical. I also love Worship the Ground You Walk On, Gina Davis specifically. No shade to other person. I bought the vinyl recently, which is incredible, but bought the vinyl and I was like, this is not Gina Davis singing. But I love her dressed like an absolute goddess, wrecking the house. The bowling ball into like she's finding the most creative ways to ruin this man's stuff, and absolutely Lucille Bluth, good for her, like the whole time. But those are absolutely my favorite songs. Big and Stupid is also solid. Superman with a Lobotomy, great phrase in basically anything. So agreed on that one, but I'm not picking it because I only get two.
Well, The Ground You Walk, I think, is beautifully done. She is singing the song, but it's so gorgeous, the shots of her like destroying everything in the house. And even when she destroys things, like when she puts things in the microwave and it explodes and you see the sparks behind her, it's beautifully visually done. The colors in this film are wonderful. Did you have something to say, Jamie?
I was just gonna say, like, this is a template for before he cheats.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. So, doing some research, the film had been cut and edited so much for content, quote unquote, that they edited in Because I'm Blonde after production. So they filmed it and just placed it in. But I think it works, even though it doesn't make any sense because why is Julie Brown's character Candy now at the beach? Why does she have a blonde wig on? Does this make any sense? But it's okay. It doesn't have to make sense. It's funny and it's hilarious. And I'm a blonde, so I can like make fun of it. And my one of my favorite lines in the song is like, what she say? I just want to thank you for choosing me as this month's Miss August. It's a compliment I'll remember for as long as I can. Just like this movie is so quotable, but we'll get to that. Now, thinking about what this movie has turned into, of course, legacy wise. Now, like I said, it took quite a few years for it to come on DVD. It's just now getting released on Blu-ray next month for the very first time with extras, interviews with cast, etc. Now, at one particular point, it was going to be adapted for the stage for off-Broadway, and it was going to feature a pre-Wicked Kristen Chenoweth as Valerie. But 9/11 happened. And the thing is you can watch it on YouTube. They don't have many of the songs in it, so they don't have The Ground You Walk On. They don't have a lot of the songs because of rights issues, but Julie Brown does appear in it. But it was like at a reading, so they didn't have costumes. It was just like a reading. But it wasn't done. It was before its time. But now I think with, the reemergence of, nostalgia, I think it could work in terms of being on stage. People, and like Jamie said, even like shadow casting it. Yeah, Jamie?
I was going to say it also reminds me a little bit of Xanadu being adapted into a musical. Sorry, I wanted to do that before I forgot. It also does remind me a little bit of Xanadu as well, in the sense of like the format of the music of the musical. Because like sometimes it's someone singing it, other times it's like, Electric Light Orchestra or the B-52s in this case singing over, So, but also speaking of legacy and all that stuff, apparently the Iggy Azalea song with Britney Spears, Pretty Girls, the music video is very much inspired by the aesthetic of Earth Girls Are Easy. I did some research. I was like, let's just see what else is out there about this movie because I'm curious now. And yes, that is I scrubbed through the music video. I hadn't watched the whole thing, but I just kind of scrubbed through it and I'm like, yep, Earth Girls Are Easy the entire way. Even like the logo at the end of the music video, this Pretty Girls, is what the logo is behind me right now for Earth Girls Are Easy. So it shows up in weird ways and I love it.
I had no idea.
Yeah. No, you're fine, Ashley. Yeah. And I love how, Jeff Goldblum is like a zaddy thing now. Everybody wants Jeff Goldblum, and now Jim Carrey is reemerging. So I'm glad that this film is now getting more recognition because people are like, it's on Tubi, it's on Amazon Prime, and people are like, what is this? It's harmless. It's harmless. What do you think, Ashley?
Absolutely. So when it was on Hulu for like a minute and a half. Oh yeah, it was last year or 2020, and I was just like, everyone go watch this because it's so innocuous. So I've been watching it for like 18 years now, but I was like, I'm gonna sit and watch it and not just have it on while I'm like sewing or doing something. And I was like, I mean, it's very dated in visually with, you can see strings holding stuff and all that, but like the gay voice I didn't love when like he touches the cops, then he like the cop gets gay, and I was like, okay, if that's the bad part of this movie, I can handle that. The other part was where she's like, don't get so tied up about a guy, maybe Mel Gibson, and I was like, oh, that didn't age well. But like that's the line. Those are the two parts that I was like, I don't even have to warn somebody about this. Like I've told people to watch Once Bitten, and I was like, here's what's up though. It's like very homophobic, which most movies from the 80s were. A lot of John Hughes movies had a lot of like homophobia in them. But this movie is just like, oh, he's totally black. That's normal. Like there's nothing bad about it that I would be afraid to tell somebody to watch, and they'd be like, you like this movie? So I'm very glad because I saw people being like, I just watched this crazy movie on Hulu, and I was like, let's talk about it now. But yeah, so I mean, I'm glad that I was able to watch it on a VHS tape back in the day. But the fact that it is coming out on Blu-ray and that more people within the last 5 years, more people I've talked to know about it. Otherwise, people are like, what are you saying? Earth Girls Are Easy. I was like, never mind. It's also the first time I ever saw Jeff Goldblum. Like, I love Gina Davis from Beetlejuice, but then I saw him. This was the first movie I ever saw him in, and I was like, who dat? Hello. Like, this is the Bi Panic movie. Let's be honest. Like, everybody's hot except for Woody, and he has his other accolades. So, I love him in Clue very much.
No, he's fit in Clue. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, it's a very harmless movie in the same vein as Xanadu, as in the same vein as the pirate movie, which you guys need to watch. Pirate movie. With Christopher Atkins from the Blue Lagoon. But yes, it's great. It's a great summertime feel-good movie. Now, I always ask this question. If you had to pick a favorite character in this film, or two favorite, I think two favorite characters that you're just like, they're hilarious. They're my characters. They're my people. I had to think about this earlier, and I think my two favorite characters are Angeline and Bambi the cat. She's such a bitch of a cat. In the end, you know, her and Ted in the pool, the cat. So who's y'all's favorite characters?
Do you love that her litter box is like a lucite? It's literally a wagon. I would live in everything she wears and everything in her apartment. I'm like, other than the lava lamp, because they just like creep me out. Zebo and Whiplock are my favorites. The physical comedy, the facial features. There's a random part where they're walking out of the pool and Woody like puts the lid on the grill and then they walk after him and they both do it too. Just to like, they're just tiny little things. Like, no, the whole performance isn't nuanced, but there are nuanced moments where I'm like, it's clear that they were going to be huge. Like, I used to watch In Living Color when they used to do Hated It, and he used to do Fireman Bill or Firefighter, whatever his name is. But like, and I of course love Once Bitten as well, regardless of problematic moments. But they just make it for me. Like, without them in it, I would still like the movie, but there wouldn't be that level of hilarity that you absolutely need to watch this movie and be like, oh, okay, it's making fun of itself, basically. But they're definitely my faves.
Yeah,
Jamie?
I'm gonna agree. I'm forgetting everybody's names now all of a sudden. I'm just gonna say their actors. Julie Brown's character for sure, and Jim Carrey's character.
And
Hands down. I'm so bad with remembering everyone's names, period. So I same reasons that you just said, Ashley, with Jim Carrey. I knew this was like definitely early Jim Carrey, but I did not know this was pre like Ace Ventura, like Jim Carrey. And yeah, Jim Carrey fans need to watch this movie. But also like Julie Brown, the only thing I knew about Julie Brown was the fact that she was a guest judge on Drag Race. So she was, oh God, was she on season 4? She was one of the earlier seasons of Drag Race. I know that. And she was with the other Julie Brown as a guest judge as well. So it was both Julie Brown's. It was a Snatch Game episode. So that was a good episode. So yeah, I will say with the quick side note on Drag Race judges, they definitely got some good judges for the first few seasons because they were people who knew camp and knew the weirdness and queerness and all that stuff, and I can understand why they chose her as a judge now. Those are my two favorites. Just Candy's songs. The songs are fabulous that she gets to be in. Her, I don't know. The way she just kind of rolls with everything very quickly, despite like, okay, initial freak out. Okay, I'm into this. Let's do it. Much appreciated there. And honestly, going back, like when I rewatch this again, because I definitely will watch it again at some point, I want to watch them like pay closer attention to the aliens' physical comedy, because I really want to like take some of that into some of my performances in Rocky, maybe as Riff Raff. Like I definitely like it just makes me interested as a Shadowcaster actor, be like, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. That long-winded tangent, but.
I think this movie, like Reefer Madness that you all have done and things in Little Shop, I really think that Earth Girls Are Easy would be great as being a musical that would be shadowcasted. I mean, could you imagine Whiplock, Max, and Zebos And I just think, I mean, I think it's one of those musicals that's going to get that sort of recognition. I mean, could you just imagine like cosplayers? I always like really applaud cosplayers, especially for that do like shadow castings, that they make their own costumes, for Phantom of the Paradise. And I mean, they can buy Rocky Horror costumes, but like for shock treatment. And could you just imagine like the costumes they would make for Earth Girls Are Easy? And Jamie, I'm looking at you, putting the pressure on your shoulders. See if you can put that in the ether. And then, yes, see if you can be Whiplock, Zebo, or Mac or whoever. And I'll do a virtual performance of Because I'm Blind.
Well, I'll have to definitely. I mean, I'm not sure how many of my castmates have seen Earth Girls Are Easy, but I mean, hey, now that I've been on this podcast, I'd be like, just check it out so you know what the fuck I'm talking about.
The fact that people are doing Phantom of the Paradise, I'm gonna make some enemies. I couldn't get through it. I couldn't watch the whole movie. I was like, it's not for me. Nope. But like the fact that people are doing, and I was like, more power to you. But like this totally lends itself. I've watched people do Moulin Rouge, which like, okay, it was fun, and I only went because like somebody I was went to high school with did it. But I was like, this isn't really fun. Like it needs to be ridiculous. I can't get behind Reefer Madness, gorgeous, great. Hedwig, obviously. Like, but this would be rad, and it would make more people watch the movie, which we all know I love. So
agree with that. I think it would be cool to do a Shadowcast of Earth Girls Are Easy. Quick side note here. I was in the Shadowcast production of Phantom of the Paradise with Buffalo. I was Beef. And I will say, I think the movie lends itself much better as a Shadowcast if you were to watch it. So eventually, Buffalo is going to be screening their production of Phantom of the Paradise in the next few months. Just follow them on Instagram, RHPS Buffalo, and they will definitely keep y'all posted on when they're going to broadcast it. You can watch me eat shit on stage. It's going to be great. Yeah, I wore these fucking platform boots, and I was running out for my entrance because I was about to miss it, and so I was in character. It was fine. But yeah, so a little plug for Buffalo there. But yeah, that's definitely a fun shadow cast. And I think this would be just for this movie, I think the costuming would be absolutely super fun to put together and also probably kind of horrible at the same time. But that's what most costuming is, to be honest. And I don't know, I think this would be a lot of fun, especially because in shadow casting, we take the ridiculousness of a movie and just like up it, So like Earth Girls Are Easy is already there. I would love to see what someone would do with these characters. So for sure.
And Jamie, hopefully, I think you already have, but the people that I had on my episode of Phantom of the Paradise, they're the Phantom Palooza. They run Phantom Palooza. They started the cult musical fandom of Phantom of the Paradise. It was their city and their theater that started the whole cult musical fandom of Phantom of Paradise because it closed everywhere. And it was my friend Gloria and Dell and my other friend who actually spearheaded it. And they did a documentary called The Phantom of Winnipeg. But please send that to them. They're my good friend.
Oh my gosh, there was a lot of fans in the audience, and I haven't watched the episode of Phantom of the Paradise yet, but that's on my to listen to / watch list. Maybe I'll do it while I clean my house later, for sure. Didn't want to get too much off track though, because I know it's like this goes to a Phantom episode, part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
But yes, it all starts with fans. It flopped everywhere except in Winnipeg, Canada. And they have met all the cast. They have had shadow cast. They have the cast have come to Phantom Palooza. They've met the guy who played Beef. They've met Jessica Harper. They have them all on socials. So they live, eat, and breathe Phantom of the Paradise. So I'll get you in contact with them. But yeah, so there's even recently, a few years back, they did a shadow cast of Teen Witch, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So Earth Girls Are Easy, I think, is going to be one of those that gets it. And I think maybe Crybaby possibly will get it soon. I just think people rediscover things, but there's always been a cult that's followed it. And that leads me into this question. If you had to name the cult that follows Earth Girls Are Easy, it's a hard question. So, like for Grease 2, we came up with the Cool Riders. For Best Little Whorehouse, we came up with the Moaners, the Side Steppers, and the Chicken Ranchers. But if you had to, oh my lord, my southern accent came out then. If you had to pick the name of the cult that follows this movie musical, what name would you bestow upon it? And don't look at me to be the first one to name it, because I'm piggybacking off of y'all.
I'm legit the worst with puns. Like, I'm terrible at it. Like, I have a degree in English and I'm just like, I appreciate them when other people do them, but I would just like take one of their names and add an S. I'd be like, the Zebos, the Whiplocks. That would be, because I'm like, I don't, Earthies. I'm not good at naming. Jamie probably has a better hold on that. No.
I think it could be multiple things. I think it could be like, hey, I'm a Whiplock. No, I'm a Zebo, or I'm a Max, or I'm a Candies. I'm part of the Candies, or I'm the Blondes. Or I'm the Earth Peoples. What do you think,
What
Jamie?
I was gonna say, what is the Curl Up and Die is the name. I was like, what is the name of her nail salon? But Curl Up and Die is not really conducive to a cult name, but you know.
This is a hard one.
It really is. Well, every time I think about like the title Earth Girls Are Easy, I always think about like one of our callbacks that we do. So like part of our at the JCCP, follow them JCCP PGH on all platforms. We do a little back and forth at the beginning with the MC routine, and so we always say like, don't throw your props at the very expensive screen, or like you see this big screen behind me. It is very expensive. You see these actors over here, they are very cheap, and we always reply and easy. So like I'm just right now thinking cheap and easy, but I don't think that quite fits in with this movie. But it's just it's every time it's the two things have been connected in my mind.
What is see, and this is the part that I don't remember, the planet that they're actually from. It's she's
Don't
like
is it can't understand?
I watch everything with subtitles, and I know she's like, tell me about Velveeta. And he's like, you mean blah 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 blah. And of course all I want to say is Valhalla, but now I'm not going to remember it. But that would be a good. I mean, you'd have to be deep into a fandom to know the planet that they're from.
Found it.
Or
It's
Finland.
according oh my god, the Finlanders, I don't know. I did find on a Rolling Stone article that said it's a review of Earth Girls Are Easy, and it's Jazala is the name of the planet.
Everybody would fuck that up.
The Jazalians or something. Let's spell it like jizz, knowing our fandom.
We could be the Miss Augustes.
That's it. Nope, you win. That's it. We're all gonna be this month's Miss August.
Now, this movie is really nostalgic for me because a friend that I really had, I watched this with her for the first time, and then I watched the pirate movie with her. And this movie is very quotable. And it's so full of great puns and lyrics and quotes. If you had to pick a favorite quote of yours from this film, regardless if it's from like a lyric like Because I'm Blonde, but if you had to pick a favorite quote that just stood out to you, what would it be? And mine, I used to act this out with my former best friend. It's the scene in the club when Jim Carrey's tongue extends and all the girls are like boom, boom, boom. And she goes, I'm going home with him. No, I'm going home with him. And Julie Brown gets his mouth and goes, no, I'm going home with him. As she walks off, they go, it's my favorite.
The line that I quote, which it has no bearing on the movie at all. It's like, did you go to Van Nuys High? Van Nuys High? When they're in the Jeep, and then like that really horrible stunt double of Jim Carrey like steps over. It looks nothing like him. It looks like my dad. But the Van Nuys High line gets me. And then the whole him yodeling cracks me up all the time from Finland. But honestly, I think my favorite is when like Valerie says something and then they say it once kind of the same and then fuck it up twice. I love it. Valerie. Like I just love them so much. But I think Van Nuys High is the part that I like. Anytime I think of this movie, I'm like Van Nuys High. That's my. I just like a Valley Girl accent. Really, vocal fry is like, love it.
I'm gonna have to go with two, and they're both from the beginning. When they're fighting, and the first one is like, if meaningless sex is what you want, why can't you have it with me? Like, I'm gonna use that sometime. It's gonna be hilarious. And then the other one was like she finally kicks him out, and he's like, in his role play doctor outfit, and like, you can't do this to me, I'm a doctor. Like, those are just the two best like lines that I think of right away. I wrote them down. That's how much I liked them.
He was an asshole.
He reminds me of the husband from Drop Dead Fred every time. Just like philandering POS, not a musical, but Drop Dead Fred. Drop Dead Fred could be a musical. They could take that and they'd give it the Heathers treatment and put it on the stage and it'd be perfect. Oh, love Drop Dead Fred. That's what I'm going to watch when we're done here.
Which, Jamie, has Rest Home Ricky from Shock Treatment. Yes. So that might be up your alley, and I think it's streaming now. But yeah, I love this museum. I love this movie musical, and it's very nostalgic for me. It reminds me of some movies, like even if they're not like super critical big hits, if you watch a film, you remember exactly when you first saw it and how your life was in that time. And this movie and The Apple and the Pirate movie all take me back to that summer when I graduated high school. And my friends and I watched that and quoted it. And we used to have to whisper it in the back seat going, "Shh," because we would get in trouble for saying bitch. But like, it was just, I just absolutely love this movie. Do y'all have anything else to say about this gem, this cosmic gem?
Nothing else, but I'm
What actually?
I was muted. I was like, I took notes, but I was reading them. So I didn't mean to cut off. You go.
You're fine. I'm not saying anything. Did you have anything else to say about this gem of a movie?
I will say, watching it again and actually paying attention to it, um, the club scene, the bar scene, whatever, totally reminds me of the Black Mirror episode San Junipero. If you haven't watched, like I have San Junipero art. It won an Emmy. It's queer. It's gorgeous.
I never thought of that.
So I'm obsessed with it, and I like have a shirt, and my friend has a tattoo. I have the vinyl. Like it's a whole thing. But the scene is very, very much Tucker's in that over the top 80s vibe, but it actually takes place in the 80s. But I think this movie had probably really fed into my love of the 80s and kind of solidified it because I was like, oh, it really was that ridiculous. Too bad I was born in 85 and not in 65. It's fine. Fine, Mom.
Jamie, what do you think about this? After you've been introduced to this weird but wonderful movie, what do you think about it? After you have it a few more, I guess, watches, what do you think about it?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm glad that I watched it, and I'm also just wanted to get a little sentimental for a second, just be, like, I'm glad that there's a podcast like this out there because I did not know this movie even existed until this podcast. So, like, just the fact that, like, these cult musicals connect people to each other, and I'm just glad there's, like, another weird thing that I enjoy that I can find other weirdos to enjoy it with. But I think just the biggest thing is that I was very entertained, and I will definitely be like, saving that for a movie night with my girlfriend at some point and just be like, watch this weird movie with me again. Because actually our first date, believe it or not, or like one of our first dates was watching Grease 2 together. So we got to keep that going of watching weird movies and kind of making fun of it as we watch it. But, so that's definitely going to be added to our list, our never ending list of movies. So baby, if you're watching this, we're watching this at some point.
Well, the thing is like cult musicals are very therapeutic. It's like very niche, but so many musicals take themselves way too seriously, like The Sound of Music and Grease and all these things, and Les Mis and cult musicals, because they're unintentionally bad, they're endearing. And that whole these endearing movies usually are outlasting those really serious movie musicals like Repo, Grease 2, The Apple, Best Little Whorehouse, all these cult movie musicals that, were glanced over. They're lasting now and they're getting recognition because we weirdos, we queers and rebels and feminists and everybody from different walks of life embrace these movies, and it brings people. I feel like we're talking about this movie like it's some Pulitzer Prize winning, but it doesn't matter if it was critically like awarded. These cult movie musicals bring people together from all over the world and like different backgrounds and stuff because we share in our love of the tackiness and the hilarity, but they have a lot of heart. And I think Earth Girls Are Easy, as campy as it is, I think it has a lot of heart because it's like a snapshot of a time that no longer exists. Like Xanadu was a perfect snapshot. If you watch the episode, the architecture, that was the last time that LA looked like that. And then, the 80s, Angeline was a big deal in Los Angeles and Hollywood in the 80s. So it's really like a snapshot of that time because as soon as the 90s came, it was all grunge. It was all Nirvana. So it's very endearing in that it's a snapshot of like a period that will never get back, that people now are very nostalgic for. I mean, I always joke with my friends. I'm like, if you guys want to bring 80s fashion back, I need to see your heart or your white snake hair. If somebody needs to bring it back, well, God damn it, I'll bring back the Dolly Parton metal hair. If somebody needs to do it, then I'll do it. Go in or go home. But yeah, it's a very endearing film.
It's sweet, and I think I completely agree. The fact that it doesn't take itself seriously is why it can be. I mean, I don't hate Les Mis. I I do hate Sound of Music. But like Les Mis is like fine, but like I watch musicals and movie musicals to escape and not to like be fully bummed out. So like this is my jam. This is the kind of movie, this and Reefer Madness and those kind of movies. These are the escapism. And you're right, like I would love to have seen Los Angeles and Malibu in the 80s. My God. I'm jealous of that time period.
Do you have anything to add to that? Me too. Do you have anything to add to
I'm just gonna say that like just as cult musicals as a whole, they're very freeing, and I think the message of the film is it's very sweet, like you should be with the person that treats you right, even if like, and their strangeness does not take away from their worth, and it's I don't know. I had a deep thing I was going to say and I've completely forgot it, but like, just like be with someone who treats you who treats you well, and like weirdness difference is not a factor that's gonna like take away from the goodness that's in someone's heart, whether they're an alien or a human. And I think that's a very sweet message.
Society be damned. Society be damned. Ha ha ha.
And I think there is a very important lesson to learn. No matter if a man looks like a Yeti crossed with an alien, you shave him and he's fit. And he's hot.
And he happens to be wearing eyeliner. We don't know why, but it's fine. It's fine. There is a little bit of eyeliner in there.
If Jeff Goldblum was wearing makeup in the movie, he was. And then, like, yeah, I don't know. I still want a cat like Bambi. That is my ideal cat. I want a mean, bitchy Persian cat. I'm not going to name her Bambi because that's weird, but yeah. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. Y'all are fabulous. Hope to have y'all back in the future, the near future. But thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
I'm going home with him. I'm going home with him. I'm going home with him.